Let's talk fantasy football with my AI, Kruger.
First up, Najee Harris or James Cook?
Woo! Wow. Yeah, that's actually a good question, Kruger, because Najee Harris is on the rise right now. We were worried yesterday when an image appeared on X, and with AI and everything, you know this, Kruger. With AI, so many things can be faked, and it's so hard to tell now. And this image of Najee popped up, and we were all petrified that this man had put on some LBs. But then there was other photos that emerged during his introduction to the Chargers that clearly show him in a different light. So that was debunked live on the channel. We went through it and like detectives figured it out. But look, Najee's in a great spot. I think at the end of the day, James Cook is way higher, cost of entry, and deservedly so after that monster 20 TD season he had last year, sum total at the end of the year. But I think what I would say is that I'd rather have Najee at cost and go wide receiver shopping where you're getting James Cook, because I think James Cook is a candidate to maybe, disappoint this year. There's going to be some regression for sure. And I think that Cook going at that middle third round to even bottom of third round, sometimes top of four territory, that's where you can go grab a JSN. You can grab a JD5. You can do the early quarterback when people are not super excited about early quarterback, or they get brainwashed into thinking early quarterback isn't a good approach. I'm going to say, cost of entry, give me Najee and the wide receiver, Najee and JD5, Najee and Josh Allen to afford that early quarterback selection. Or you could go Kyron, for example. So Kyron or Bucky or Breece Hall, where James Cook is. Even if you're taking those guys sometimes a little bit higher, that's the player I want instead of James Cook this year. I love Cook. We loved him last year during the season. He was one of the biggest recommended players to go trade for during the year because we knew he's going to have a monster year. As soon as the season began, it was very evident. But right now, I think regression's more of a concern for me at that high cost of entry that you have to now use to get him onto your roster.
Great insight, Smitty.
Now, let me ask you a question. Let me turn the table real quickly. Who would you rather have? Bucky Irving at, let's say, the top of round 3, the very first pick in round 3, or let's say, or T. Higgins?
That's a tough one. I'd go with Bucky Irving at the top of round 3 because his upside is massive and that running back value is gold.
Okay, and then let me ask you one more question. You're sitting there at number 9 overall, and Nabers is there. Malik Nabers and Puka Nacua is there. Who are you taking?
At number 9 overall, I'm taking Malik Nabers. His potential and upside are off the charts, and he's a dark horse for the WR1 spot.
I agree with that. And the reason why is the same thing I talk about with Puka Nacua all the time. I'm not saying I don't love Puka Nacua, but Adams is going to be a problem. And not to mention, Puka Nacua is a very injury-prone player. His style of play is overly aggressive. It's George Kittle meets Isaiah Pacheco, and he's awaiting injury to happen. It doesn't mean we don't love him. It doesn't mean we don't love that part of his style of play and his heart and soul and his grit. But he lands on his arms, knocks his legs around on the ground, and bangs his knee against the ground constantly, elevates for balls that other players wouldn't elevate for, lays out for balls that other players wouldn't lay out for. Again, heart, determination, Rudy Rudiger of the NFL. But you have to understand that there's major injury risk. And what we saw out of Cooper Kupp become the best wide receiver in the National Football League in 2021 and quickly fade. I'm not saying Puka fades as quickly as Kupp did, but this is McVay. This is a McVay formula that's taking a good wide receiver and turning them great. And I just would rather take the pure elite talent that doesn't even have the situation yet and is playing as well as Puka Nacua. Imagine once and if, and I think it will be, I think it's happening. I think he gets Cam Ward, he gets his situation. It's March 15. We don't have the draft, the draft here yet. But I do believe that New York, they're not going to land A-Rod according to the reports here. A-Rod hasn't even made his announcement yet, but it's March 15. And I think that this quarterback situation improves greatly through Cam Ward or Shedeur. But even without the improved situation, Nabers is as good as Puka in the most elite situation. So Nabers is my dark horse wide receiver 1 or 2 this year. Good call, Kruger.
Totally agree. Smitty, Nabers' raw talent and potential make him a standout, especially with that future QB upgrade likely coming in New York. The upside is massive, and his ceiling is sky high. Great breakdown. Here we go. Would you rather draft a quarterback in rounds 2 or 3, or Focus on wide receivers and running backs there and bet a quarterback later.
It's a great question, and I get this question all the time, and I'm coined as the early quarterback content creator, the early quarterback king. And it's not because I don't land late quarterbacks or predict or draft late quarterbacks. We're the king of JD5. No channel like JD5 more than your boy Smitty. Kruger, what do you, first of all, I'm still going to answer the question, but do you agree that no one liked JD5 more than this channel?
Absolutely, Smitty. This channel was all over JD5 before anyone else, and the community knows it. But to the question, early QB strategy definitely has its merits if the right opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, so what I was saying was, I'm going to take an early quarterback. And early quarterbacks, even Joe Burrow in round 4 or 5. Early quarterbacks, even Mahomes in round 5, 6. You know, and sometimes Mahomes lasts to 7 in best ball. It's crazy. And that's still an early quarterback approach. I never leave a draft without at least Burrow or Mahomes, but that doesn't mean I'm not drafting the next JD5 if there ever is one. Now, this draft class doesn't have an next JD5, and really the QB pool doesn't have a hidden gem to that degree whatsoever. But we're the show that found Jalen Hurts. We're the show that found JD5. We continue and will always continue to try and get you a Josh Allen and a JD5 on your roster. That's what happened last year. Anybody that drafted JD5 didn't really draft him to start. They drafted him on the advice of this channel to pair next to your early quarterback or even mid-range quarterback. And then you had trade potential. Anybody that had Josh Allen and JD5 was able to make another additional move, trading one of the quarterbacks away to make a league-winning move to improve the roster. So the answer is this. The answer is always going to be, if you're in the second or third round, and you don't like the players that are left, the board didn't fall properly for you. You have wide receivers you don't love, like the Waddle example, or somebody else that you're just like, damn, I don't like this, or the running backs didn't fall a certain way. You grab a quarterback. You grab a quarterback like Josh Allen, who could be the top scorer in all of fantasy. You grab JD5, who could be the top scorer in all of fantasy. You do that move, the early quarterback move, the second or third round quarterback move, when you are not happy with the players left on the board. You don't force a position, you draft a player. We never draft positions here on the channel. We always draft players. Okay, so that's going to be the way you know when to go Josh Allen or JD5. Now, if Kyron's there, if Bucky's there, if Breece Hall's there, I will push the quarterback downstream further and say, you know what, this isn't the draft that I draft Josh Allen. Or maybe I try and push JD5 down to the 4th round, and if I get him, I get him. If I don't, I don't. Then I go Burrow or Mahomes later. But I usually always take Kyron, Bucky, Breece Hall before I'm taking an early quarterback. So understand, it's who's on the board. Don't ever set your plan of attack, concrete plan of attack going into a draft. Be loose, be liquid. Don't think you're gonna just deploy something ahead of time and stick to that plan. You have to draft players, not positions, or you leave meat on the bone.
Absolutely, Smitty. Flexibility and drafting the best player available is key. Always adapt and stay loose to maximize value. That's the winning approach.
Loosey-goosey, Kruger.
For sure. Go early QB if the top guys are there, or go late if you're confident in your depth. Flexibility is the name of the game.
Thank you, Kruger. Appreciate you being here for this one-on-one, 1v1 Kruger session.
Always a pleasure, Smitty. Glad to be part of the Kruger session. Let's keep crushing it.
All right. Hats off to Kruger. He's learning every day. This is not pre-recorded, or I created those audio clips in response to my questions. He is real. He is absolutely real. Anybody that watches my live streams, they know. So tune in. We'll ask him, super chat questions, and he'll answer immediately. So this is the real deal, and he's pretty awesome. All right, I'll see you all on the next one. Don't forget, I'm live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday, and I go live whenever big news breaks.